Alright, so we are back. Let's go ahead and install our direct piston. Same thing, be liberal with your assembly lube. Don't be stingy. Protect your lip seals, protect your parts. Here we go. We're gonna use this again. Now on the inner one is not necessary because the lip points down and it's just gonna slide through. As you see, it's almost all the way in there. There we go. Same thing here. Our return spring, our snap ring. I'll be right back. Now we're going to go ahead and install our center loop sealing ring. I just fold it like this a little bit to get one side inside the groove. I don't want to stretch it that much because if I do, then my sprag is not going to go in, and we have to mold this sealing ring. Now let me show you what I'm talking about. Where did my sprag go? It's over here. So this is my sprag assembly. You see it has a brand new bushing. Sprag rotation, hold it from the sun gear and the outer race turns clockwise and locks to the counterclockwise and the free wheels to the clock. Holding your sun gear. Don't get confused. If you do it like this, if you hold the hub over here, of course you're going to turn the opposite direction. Have a habit of holding it one way and do this on all of them. Okay? So well, let's go back to what I was saying. So the sealing ring seals here, and as you can see, it doesn't fall down in there. So I'm going to use this hose clamp here, and I am going to resize that sealing ring so that I can install that sprag assembly without problem. Okay, so we kind of resize it with the hose clamp. Like I mentioned before, and I will say it again, if I can show you how to do the job without using special tools, I will do that. And by all means, if some of you guys, I know some of you guys are transmission rebuilders as well that are watching this video, if you have some other tricks, you know, just go ahead and share them. See that? We're all the way in. That sealing ring resized. Okay, now let's get this thing out of the way for now. Rag. Now, our washer, this 4-tap plastic washer. This washer likes to break, so always replace it. Sometimes when you're taking it apart, it just falls in pieces in your hand. Okay, I just push it a little bit down there. Now we are going to install our direct frictions. Okay, 3 frictions. There we go. And now we do the same thing on the coast. First coast, 2 coast frictions. This is the pressure plate for the coast frictions. These are the forward frictions. Now our pressure plate and our snap ring. Okay, now that our snap ring is installed, just want to leave your sprag assembly in there, just so that the sealing ring doesn't expand. There we go. Alright, let's set that to the side. Let's go ahead and assemble our reverse drum. Same thing with the piston. This is the old piston, and this is the new piston. Molded pistons. Okay, and we're going to use this here, the same tool. We're going to start with the inner one. and with my left hand I'm kind of keeping pressure on it. I know it comes off every now and then. Kind of mold it. Let's do the outer one. The outside one is the one that's a little bit, the lip is kind of flared out. I mean, that's how the new lip pistons are, the lips. And the old ones, they're kind of shrunk in, so you don't have no issue putting them back together. Sometimes you don't need the tool to get them in there. They just fall in. Okay, let's do let me use what I normally use. All right. This is my lip seal installer. You can get this from Snap-on or Mac Tools or your tool truck. I think the parts suppliers, your local parts suppliers will have them as well. Okay, I got one side kind of dropping in on its own. Let's see here. Let's try and use this again. Yes, won't go in. Here we go. It's going. Whatever you're most comfortable with. If you want to buy the special tool, I mean, by all means, buy the special tool. With the special tool, it'll just fall in. I mean, you just kind of push it in and it'll go. We're almost there, almost. Almost. Just make sure that all the lip is in. Gotta be careful not to damage it. There we go. All the way in. Same thing here. Return spring and our snap ring. I'll take it to the foot press. I'll be right back. Okay, so now that we have everything assembled here, our forward and direct drum, I still have the sprag in there, and I have this piece right here, and I'm just gonna sit my whole drum assembly here. I'm gonna move that to the side here, and I'm gonna install the reverse frictions. And the reason I want to do that out here is because our hub, see where he has no grooves for the teeth for the frictions, and I have the same opening here, so I have to kind of align it there. So I will install them here first, and then we are going to install a reverse drum on our forward and direct drum assembly. So I want to lube this up a little bit. I know that my bushing is already lubed. Just want to make sure that it's nice and lubed. And another thing I'm going to show you here, I have these two notches, and this notch, one of these two notches, you have to align it on a hole that's on our drum. If you don't align it, you will have a lack of lube here, and you're gonna have some issues. All right, well, just drop one clutch. Let's look for the other one. It will become a little tricky here. It's best if I do it here than try to do it over there when it's installed on the drum. Let's realign it. Okay, here's one opening. I was right almost next to the opening. Right here. All right, let's try this again. Okay, that's one. or what we can do, we can just take this snap ring off and just make it easier. We'll put our frictions here. Like so. We just leave that one steel down there. And drop it in there. And still, there we go. We're all the way to the bottom. Alright, back to this drum. The next thing is our direct shell. Okay, it's all the way in. Now here we have a lube hole, and here we have another lube hole. Okay, so these two lube holes have to be aligned on the two little grooves that I showed you. Now there's one groove right here, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to kind of drop it in there and align it to where that lube hole is. I know I got a bearing in the bottom down there, and it kind of wants to rotate. Oh, there we go. It needs to fall down a little more. There we go. All right, now that we have this installed here, let's put our snap ring. Snap ring installed. Now we flip this thing over. There we have it. This is our turbine shaft. Now I'm going to show you how everything goes assembled together. Just hold that thought right there. Okay, here we have our pump stator. Actually, the turbine stator is right where the torque converter goes. But this is our pump support, or I know I don't have it assembled. I just want to show you more or less of an idea how this thing is inside the barrel of the case, and why it is so important that all of your bushings are there. This is the only support that you got, and now that we have this assembled here, now let's go ahead and drop it, just to give you an idea more or less of how it works. Alright, so half of the transmission is already here. The pump in the rear supports this whole assembly, and then you have the center shaft or a turbine shaft here, and see you have a bushing here and a bushing here. This bushing right here is the one that goes on the stator, on the torque converter stator. And let's go ahead and start putting our parts in, the rest of the parts. Now we got our sprag assembly here. Drop it in there. You have a bushing there. Everything has to be centered. Here's our front planet assembly. Ring gear. There we go. Here we have another bushing. Here's our other planet. Bushing. Alright, so this is the whole transmission in here. You have the turbine here, the stator, bushing, and then on the rear of the piece here, this bearing, so everything centers here. You have the rear of the pump, and then you have our stator. All of the bushings have to be there. Everything has to be centered. If it is not centered, you're going to have some shifting issues, some flares, some things that you don't want, and then you're going to be misdiagnosing, you know, the problem because you think that you have a bad solenoid or a pressure loss somewhere. Yeah, you have a pressure loss, I mean, because everything is not centered, and the sealing rings that you saw on the pump, I mean, you're going to have a gap there that the fluid is going to try to escape from. Alright, so now that we have this thing assembled here, let's go ahead and assemble our pump. Okay, now our pump. Now you see here I already have two, this come from an E4OD valve body alignment pins, and this is what we're going to use to align our pump. Now we're going to put our pump gears, install our pump gears in here, and you already see the new bushing, and I have it lubed up already. And don't forget this, because this is the one that turns the pump gears. Remember the drive shaft, the pump drive shaft, that if you don't install it, it will not turn these pump gears. And if you don't install that, the pump gears are not going to turn. You're not going to have any fluid pressure. Alright, so now we install our wear plate. If you see this wear plate here, this is an updated wear plate. Now, the overhaul kit comes with two gaskets, and if you see here, this opening here, this is the previous gasket on 93, 94, and I believe 95 models. This is the old gasket. There's some transmissions out there that still have that hole here, and if you see, if I lay the gasket down here, this is where the hole is, and you have another hole here. I did a teardown video on one of these type of units, and I mentioned these two holes, and you have that on the early model wear plate. Now let's go ahead and install our gaskets here, and our stator support. Kind of press down there. And see, this is our drive shaft, or pump drive shaft. Make sure that it turns freely. We don't take the guide pins out yet. We first tighten up our bolts. Now these guide pins, they get kind of stuck in there. And that's a good sign, because that means that your pump is properly aligned. Now I'm going to get some pliers and take these two pins out. Okay, so I already got them out there, and this is what they look like. This is a E4OD or 4R100 valve body alignment pins. They are installed in the case, and sometimes we need to replace our cases, so I have some of this laying around, and I use them for different transmissions. They come very helpful. Okay, now that I got them off and already got my two bolts on there, then we put our pump O-ring here, and let's lubricate it. And everything inside from the barrel of the case, it's already assembled. We got our pump assembled, my forward and direct drum, my reverse drum, it's assembled. We got everything assembled from the inside of the transmission. Now we need to prepare our case, install our low reverse piston, and assemble all the sub-assemblies inside of the case.